What to do when you don't hit your sales goal, your launch flops, and you've missed your quota. Find out on this episode of Authentic Selling TV. What do you do when you miss your quota, your sales goal, your launch goal? It doesn't matter if you're a coach or a consultant or you're selling water. Nothing feels quite as bad in the grand scheme of running your business as missing a quota, especially in the online world. Actually, that's not fair in any world. If you have worked your BOOTY, oh my, off to hit that goal, and then you find yourself staring at the computer screen saying, now what? First things first, hear me say this. Every single person who has sold anything has missed a quota. I'm going to say it again. Every single person who has sold anything, even those industry experts that you see online who are always talking about, this incredible launch that they had. They made $18 million. They have 5,000 people in their program. They made $1 million last month. They have missed a quota. It's the law of averages. I mean, at some point, something's going to go wonky. It may be in your control. It may be out of your control, but something is going to go wonky. So what do you do? What do you do? You're sitting here, you've missed the goal, you've missed the bonus, you've missed the money, and now what? Well, one of the things that people like to do is they like to rip everything off. I'm going to change everything. I can remember when I was in pharmaceutical selling and somebody would miss a quota and they would just start over, like new route, new this, new everything. And I've worked enough of our launches in the online world to see this happen too. Well, I think my messaging is off. Well, I think my website needs to be updated. Well, I need to have new branding photos. Well, I need to this. And all of that may be accurate. But the worst thing you can do when you miss a quota is blame yourself and change everything. I'm going to say that again. The worst thing you can do when you miss a quota or a sales goal or have a launch flop is blame yourself and change everything. So what do? One of the things that I have learned by working with incredible online business owners to help them sell out their launches and make more money last month than they did all of last year is to read the data. Sort of like in Harry Potter when what's her name's like you read the tea leaves or the Grim, oh! You read the data. And there are not many people who talk or teach you about how to read the data, but the data tells you what to do. So in the last video, we talked about what to do when your quota or your sales goal doesn't fit, right? We talked about how it has to work for your mind, body, and spirit. So let's assume that you felt good about this, right? You had a plan, you had a strategy, so it worked for your mind. It worked for your body because you weren't working 18 hours out of 24-hour days, and 18 is not the magic number, by the way. I mean, I use 18 a lot, but it could be 17 hours. You weren't working to the point of exhaustion every single day, so it worked for your body. And it worked for your spirit because you believe in this product. You believe in this service. You know the difference that it's going to make. So it checked all of those boxes. It worked for your mind, body, and spirit, yet somehow you still ended up short. You still ended up on the wrong end of the numbers. Aside from knowing that this happens, how do we read the data? So one of the things that you want to do is what we in the online world call a post-launch analysis. And in a post-launch analysis, you look back and see how many launches have you done over the course of your business. If you're selling to corporate, how many times, how many quotas, how many quarters, if you're on a quarter quota system, how many times have you hit a quota? And the first thing you look for is what has changed. So in the online world, usually that's a lot. Usually we're always looking to make our launches more successful. We're always looking to get more people in. We're always looking to build off of what we did before. And if you're like me, you're like, oh, this is going to be the one. This is going to be like, knock it out of the park to use a sports reference. Slam dunk. Like, this is going to be it. And so I want to acknowledge, first of all, that although I said don't blame yourself, it's demoralizing when you put all this time, all this effort, and lots of times money behind a launch or selling something or hitting a quota, and then you come up short. It's hard. And I want to acknowledge that. The first thing that I tell people to do if they miss their quota is sit in the loss for a little bit. Now, this is more of a mindset thing. But one of the things that we want to do is not, as I said, don't change everything. We don't want to jump straight into, right? Like, did you know what that means? It's like the Energizer Bunny. Like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this. I also want to acknowledge that if you miss a quota, especially if you're running your own business or you were counting on that bonus to buy holiday presents, you could create a cash flow issue, right? There could be a cash flow issue where you're like, oh, snap. Do people say snap anymore? Oh, what the what? I've got to have some money, right? Like, I was planning on this, I was counting on this, I did all the things, and yet it's not coming in. And so we're going to talk about all of that. But the first thing is feel the feelings, right? This is what life coaches tell you. Feel the feelings, be disappointed, grieve the loss. Okay, this didn't go the way we wanted it to go, and it sucks. It sucks really bad. It sucks beyond the telling of it. One of the things that I am habitually bad at is taking responsibility for everything. I start apologizing. I'm so sorry, team, we didn't hit the quota. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's not incredibly helpful. So you feel the feelings, you grieve, you maybe cry, maybe you don't get out of bed the next day. This didn't go the way I wanted it to go, right? And then we move beyond the feelings into tactical and practical. And we're going to look at our past launches. If it's your first launch, I'm going to tell you what to do. But look at our past launches. Look at the past quarters that we've sold stuff. Did it ever work well? Did you ever hit the quota? Did you ever get close to your goal? Did you ever exceed your goal? And if the answer is yes, I want you to compare and contrast what changed between the launch where you hit the quota or where it felt better and the launch where you didn't. That's the first thing. And then, and you may say, well, I had a new sales page, or I had to do this, or, okay, great. There are things that can change outside of your control. Industries change all the time. I think about the pharmaceutical industry where I came from, and things changed all the time. I mean, if there was a news story about the unethical drug reps bringing in lunch to doctors were less likely to even see me. Right? And so the winds shift a little bit here with what is going on. So I do realize there are things outside of your control that affect whether you hit the quota or not. We're going to talk about that later too. But the first thing is, after you felt the feelings, practically speaking, what changed? The sales page changed. I did a challenge this time rather than a webinar. I had 5,000 people on my last webinar. I had 100 on this webinar. I did affiliates this time. I didn't do affiliates last time. Like, what changed? Okay? So then you have an idea of, this changed. Is this responsible for less than ideal sales? Or you see a pattern. So let me tell you how to read the pattern, read the tea leaves. Let's say that you've launched 4 times. And every time you do a really good job of driving people to a webinar. Every time you do a really good job of getting people on sales calls, but nobody can afford your product or service. Okay, you don't need to change everything because you're doing 2 of the big 3 really well. People know you exist. They are signing up for your webinar. So they know you exist and they want to learn from you. They're engaging with you. You are having a conversion problem. You're not having a problem of no one can afford my product or service, so I need to lower my price. You're having a conversion problem. Don't miss that. Because oftentimes people say, well, I can't get anybody to pay $4,000 or $2,000. Everybody else can, but all my people are freebie seekers. No, that's probably not accurate. What's probably true is there is something in the way that you're doing the sales call or you're doing the follow-up where people are like, I don't know about this. So step one is feel the feelings. Honor that, yeah, I'm in a sucky stage of business. I'm in a sucky stage of selling. It didn't go the way we wanted it to go. But don't stay there. Step two is look at the practical and the tactical. What's worked in the past? Has anything worked in the past? Write that down. If nothing's worked in the past, then say, of my big three, people knowing my business exists, people engaging with my business, and converting people, where do we see an opportunity? So if you've done I have a customer who did 5 webinars last year, and she said none of them converted. So I don't even know if webinars work for me. I said, okay, how many people did you get on each webinar? 3, 5, 2, 1. Okay, that's not a problem of webinars not working for you. That is a problem with step number 1. Not enough people know her business exists. Or it's an engagement problem. People know our business exists, but they don't see the need. They don't want to know more. They're not engaging with our business. So when you read the data, read the tea leaves, so to speak, it tells you what to change. It tells you where to go so that you're not throwing spaghetti at the wall. No matter how good the coaches and consultants and the sales training and the business training and the product training that you go through, there will be times when the plans don't work. And so what that means is it's redirection, right? Rejection is redirection. It is an opportunity for you to say, has it ever worked? What was I doing when it worked? Oh, well, it's never really worked. Okay, where was there a breakdown? Because there are 3 steps. There are a lot of things under these steps, right? But 3 steps. Did people know your business existed? Did they engage? Did they sign up for your free thing? Did they take advantage of your samples? Are the samples moving off the shelf? Whatever. And are they converting? So rather than changing everything, I'm going to rebrand, I'm going to do a new website, I'm going to create a new route, I'm going to start over with everything. Instead, let's use data. Now, what the data gives you is correlation does not mean causation. So it could be a situation where I did a webinar before and I did a challenge this time, and maybe it has nothing to do with your challenge. I mean, that could be. But you want to come up with your best guess. Why did this not work? I want to be really, really honest with you, right? You're here for trust, transparency, and to close more sales. So I'm going to be really transparent with you. When you are starting out, webinars are a great way to get the word out about your business. They're a great way for people to see your expertise and engage with your business. But you don't make a lot of money off of webinars until you've been doing them for a while. So I know that there are a lot of get rich, make a lot of money, use my webinar formula opportunities out there, and all of those can be great. But we have to look at the stage of business that you're in. We have to get the word out to as many people as possible. So this actually even holds true for non-launches. It holds true for social media. Have you been posting regularly for a quarter and your list isn't growing, your followers aren't increasing, and people are not engaging with your content? Great. That tells us we got a problem here in step 1 or step 2 that we need to correct. So rather than throwing everything out, let's invest in fixing what didn't work or our best guess as to what didn't work. So I had a customer recently who said, I'm not getting anyone to book sales calls. I was like, okay, great. So it sounds to me like we have an engagement problem, right? Step 1, do people know you exist? She uses Instagram. Is your Instagram growing? Yes. Are people engaging with your content? No, they're not booking sales calls. So we know we don't have a conversion issue. We've got this middle issue. So we changed a couple of things. And I just spoke to her yesterday, day before yesterday, and she said, I have 8 sales calls booked. 8 sales calls. right? We changed in step 2. We didn't change all the messaging. We didn't change all the branding. We didn't change all the things. We needed to figure out how to get people to book a sales call. So our focus, our strategy was on leaving alone what worked and changing what didn't. In the online industry, we look at things kind of as a whole, but we don't break them down enough to say, where's the real problem? Where's the real problem here? Why didn't the launch convert? Why was my quota wrong? You know, I've got 100 people on my list and I wanted to have 1,000 people in my class. That math doesn't add up, y'all. I mean, think about it. If you're going to go buy 1,000 cell phones, I don't know why, but you're going to go buy 1,000 cell phones and the store only has 100 available, you're 900 short. So was the quota too big? There are lots of questions that you can ask yourself, but it starts with looking at what worked before compared to what changed this time. And if it's never worked before, then ask yourself, do people know my business exists at all? Is my list growing? Is my following growing on LinkedIn? Are people engaging with my content? If your list is growing, they're probably engaging with your content. And are they getting on sales calls and can I close them? So let's say that you uncover that people don't know your business exists, that all you're hearing is crickets. The next question I'm going to ask you is, are you giving people opportunities to know your business exists? So are you just posting on social media or are you driving people to an opt-in? Are you just posting on social media with no calls to action? You know, if you're only posting your opt-in once a quarter, then your first thing to change would be let's put a strategy around talking about your opt-in. Whether you go live, whether you talk about it more, whether you post about it more, let's drive people to the opt-in. Simply having an opt-in up on a website does not convert. It's not the way to grow your list. It's not the way to get the word out about your business. So when you don't hit your quota, you're going to look at what's worked in the past, or has anything worked in the past. And if nothing has worked in the past, then I'm willing to bet you've got a step 1 problem. Enough people don't know your business exists. And so we need to figure out, what are we currently doing? And how do we turn up the volume on that? Or what changes do we make there? It's the same thing if you're selling to corporate. If you are calling on your list of customers, right? And you go and they say, customer 1 can't see you today. Customer 2 is too busy. Customer 3 isn't scheduling lunches anymore. You may be calling on them, but you're not getting back to have meaningful conversations, to engage with the people. So we need to solve that problem. Simply walking in the door does not count on calling on someone. Now, it might count in the information you turn into your boss, but you and I both know walking in a door and the decision maker never seeing you doesn't help you. Same thing with social media. Simply just posting because somebody says post 5 times a day doesn't do it. Is that actually working? So in 2023, let's slow all of this down. Let's slow down what you're doing. Let's find one thing that you can do uncommonly well, not 22 things. You know, if you love Instagram, then let's double down on Instagram. But let's not just post. Let's talk about what we want the data to be. We want our followers to grow. We want people to opt in for our freebie. Not just when I have a free webinar, but when I don't have a free webinar. Let's get more people on the list so that we can sell to them. It's like when we redid this YouTube channel. For 10 years, I did a YouTube channel, good enough. That's questionable, but we'll call it good enough, right? I filmed it myself. I like all the things. And then I decided I'm not following my own advice. I love YouTube. I go to YouTube myself. If I need to know how to do something, I go to YouTube and search it. I look for directions. Yesterday, we were in a meeting and I was like, my charger for my Mac is dead. the charger actually has a short in it and doesn't work. And I don't have another charger, and my Mac has 10%. So how do you charge your Mac without a charger? Went to YouTube, found a solution. It worked, right? So I use YouTube. So rather than doing it good enough to check the box, I said, what happens if we double down on YouTube? We make this easy for me to show up and do what I love to do. That included getting hair and makeup here so I don't have to get ready. It included having a video director that strategizes with me. It included having someone here to film so I don't have to film, edit, I never edited, upload, all the things. And you know what? Our YouTube channel is growing. It's slow, but it's growing. It's growing the right way. So I doubled down on what I liked. What that essentially means is more people will come to know authentic selling exists because I looked at all the things we were doing. We were doing Pinterest, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, webinars, free teachings, corporate speaking, and I was like, my head is spinning. There is no way I can do all of these things well. And I wasn't. So let's start with doing the thing that I want to do, that I love doing, that lights me up, and let's go all in on that. If we have a visibility problem, which we want more people to know about authentic selling, I'm pretty good at converting people once they get on the phone, right? I'm a sales expert. I ought to be. But I need to get the word out about how incredible authentic selling is. Am I going to do that by throwing spaghetti at Instagram, by throwing spaghetti at this, or by throwing money? That's what I did. I threw money at everything. So let's hire a $100,000 a year Instagram marketing firm. Let's hire this. Let's hire this. Oh, well, first of all, I was spending every penny I made. It wasn't fun. Told y'all are going to get transparency. So rather than doing that and splitting myself 8 different ways like a Horcrux from Harry Potter, splitting my soul 7 parts of a whole, let's double down on what feels good. Let's go all in there. And the same is true for your launches. So we essentially did that entire plan for how do we have people find our business. In 10 years, we've tried a lot of things. We've spent money on ads. That works really well, but I didn't want to spend money on ads anymore. I've tried to do all the Instagram things. Y'all remember I dressed up and did reels and did my Madonna and Vogue. Had fun with that, but that wasn't my thing. I've done all the things. I've tried all the things. And so when we looked at the data, we said, okay, we're trying a lot of things and none of it's working super well the way we want it to. What worked well before? Years ago, Facebook worked well for me. But I didn't want to do Facebook. Didn't work for my soul. Don't get me wrong, I still am on Facebook. But I said, you know what? Let's double down on what feels good. Let's double down on what I know I enjoy doing. And that will help our launches because more people will know our business exists. More people will engage. If I put out good content, more people will engage. More people will subscribe to our channel. More people will opt in for our freebie. And then more people will eventually buy. So the point here is you've got 9,452 million experts telling you all the things you should do to grow your business. You've got, in corporates, you've got your district manager, your regional manager, your VP saying, these are our goals. We got to hit them, right? All the things. But how you hit them, what you do to hit them is where you get some creativity with your sales process. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather fill my time with doing things I abso-freaking-lutely love. So the data led us to choose YouTube. And my guardrail, what felt good. So what do you do when you don't hit your quota? Number 1, feel the feelings. It sucks. It sucks. Number 2, look at the data. What have you tried in before? Well, I'm doing everything. I'm everywhere. I am splitting myself into 7 different parts. How's that working for you? It obviously isn't if your data, if you're not hitting your quota, right? So then let's slow that down. We've identified an area that's not working. So let's slow it down. Is your list growing? Are people saying yes to you booking lunches? Are people opting in for your freebie? If the answer is no, that's what you need to change. Not your messaging, Not maybe your messaging. Why? So then you would say, let's actually play this out. So then you would say, well, why aren't people opting in? Is my messaging confusing? Am I not in the right place? Do I need a new freebie? Do I need to work with a messaging expert? Like maybe that's the change you make. But then you've made a change based on data, not based on what every expert out there tells you. Because you know what? The experts are right. You do need all those things. I'm going to steal from Jess, our director, 2 things that are completely different can be true at the same time. So those experts may be right. You maybe do need a social media strategy. You probably do need to know how to give webinars, but you can't do all that at one time. So let's change what's not working so that you can start converting and start making more money. And then you can make an educated decision about what to do next as you grow and scale. But you're more likely to hit those quotas. Quota can be a scary word. Sales goals, launches, they can all be triggering. But if you look at the results from any launch, the results from what you're doing on social media, that's a launch in some ways, and you look at the data and you really slow it down and say, what's working? What's not working? You as the expert, as the person responsible for this book of business, as the person responsible for this business that you've created, you need to know rather than all these outside forces telling you. If you don't know, if you look at the data and you don't know, then that's when you hire somebody to come in and say, what's going on here? But you need to have a good idea. This is where we're stuck. Right here. This thing isn't working for us. If you change all these other things, it might create more sales. But if we change this, the data says it likely is going to create more sales. And if you don't know how to change it, then you can bring in an expert. Then you can buy a book. Then you can watch a webinar. Then you can ask for help. But you're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. I know you can hit those quotas. I know you can. Do people know your business exists? How do we know if your visibility plan is working? Are people opting in? Are your numbers going up? Are your followers going up? If the answer is yes, you move to question 2. Are people engaging with your content? What do I mean by engaging with your content? If they're downloading stuff, they're probably engaging. Step 1 and 2 kind of use the same metrics. Are people commenting on your social media post? Are they showing up when you have webinars, when you offer freebies, additional freebies? If the answer is yes, are they booking sales calls? If the answer is yes, and they're converting, great, you don't need this. But if they're not converting, then you know you have a conversion problem. Let's go back. Step 1, do people know your business exists? Are people opting in? Yes. Are my numbers growing? Yes. Are people signing up for additional free things? Like they've opted in and now they're signing up for a webinar? No. You've got an engagement problem. So what you're saying initially it disrupts the scroll and has people like, ooh, I want to know more about this. But then what you're doing in your nurture sequence or to continue that relationship isn't working. They're like, no, I don't need this. So we know where to go. Let's look at it one more way. Are people opting in? No, right there. Don't go to the next step. Great, people don't know your business exists. You're not getting their attention. How do we change that? And that is not always change your messaging. It could be, are you giving them the opportunity to opt in? So one of the things that's really important that you see as a result, to me, it's really important to me that you see as a result of the content that we put out here is, are you empowered to make, I know that word, people roll their eyes at that, but are you empowered to make your own decision about what your business needs? Rather than always needing a savior or a hero or somebody else, are you empowered? And I know that you're an empowered individual because anybody who starts a business already is like, no to the status quo. Great. You've got it in you. But this industry can beat you up. And it can suck the living confidence right out of you. And so it's time for you to be in the driver's seat. It's time for you to look at all the work you've done and say, God, I am a badass. Look at all this I did. Did I get the result I wanted? Maybe, maybe not. If not, now you know where to look rather than my launches don't convert. I'm going to change my messaging. My Instagram's not growing, so I'm going to start doing reels and dressing up like Madonna. Everybody says I need to do more LinkedIn, so I'm going to do that because everybody says so. Yeah, that's not how businesses work. You are the boss. Boss lady, boss man, boss person, you. You make the decision. And even if you're in corporate and you're like, yeah, well, I don't run my own business, you're responsible for your book of business. And as long as you're being ethical, if you hit your quota, your bosses are going to leave you alone. As long as you're being ethical, right? So be the boss. Be the boss. Make informed decisions rather than throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And before you go off and analyze what's working, what's not twerking, ring that bell. Ring that bell. Oh, yeah. I believe in you and I believe in your business.